This is our yin practice, focusing on our sacral chakra, Swadhisthana. I hope that you enjoyed the first week of our 7-week series, moving into our second energy center. I just wanted to remind you again, these practices, each of these classes or postural practices that I'm going to be posting can be practiced standalone. They can be practiced on their own, or you can layer them. So maybe if you have a little bit more time, if you have extra time in your day, you could start with the yin practice for a nice stretch, practice one of the flow practices, and then follow with the restorative practice. All right, so we're going to work through a few different poses. We're going to start off with a more like symmetrical pose, and then we're going to move into some asymmetrical poses. But before we even start to think about coming into a pose, we're going to take a moment to just land in the space that we're in. I don't know where you're practicing. You might live in a very quiet little space, or maybe you live in a really loud, busy house. Maybe you're out in the country where there's not a lot of background noise. Maybe you're in the city where there is constantly sound. One of the things that I've found the most helpful recently, while practicing more in my own home, is just embracing the atmosphere that I'm in. I have 4 kids. My house is loud and busy. It's not quiet when I practice. I am interrupted when I practice. Even though my kids are getting bigger, they still interrupt me nonstop. And instead of pushing against that, I am embracing that it is my practice right now. Maybe, well, it won't be that forever. It will change. But so without trying to make your space something other than what it is, not trying to even like block out all the sounds around you if there is. Maybe we close the eyes as long as it feels comfortable for you to. And just start to focus on the feeling of breathing into your body. Imagine or visualize the feeling of your breath moving through you like a wave. I think of my wave moving like this. As I start to breathe in, it's like a wave starts to grow and move towards shore. At the very top of that breath, the very height of my inhale, is when the wave is moving as far up the shore as it can, so like that little pause. And then slowly on the exhale, the wave is rolling back out to the body of water. Big breath in, nice slow wave. Rolling into shore, and then on an exhale, rolling back out. If this visualization doesn't feel like it works for you, you are welcome to use any visualization that you prefer. one last breath, one last wave. And when you're ready, chin might tuck into our chest. Maybe our hands even come together in front of our heart into Anjali Mudra. And you're welcome to take a moment here to set an intention for your practice today, if that's something that helps you stay focused during your practice, or something you find comforting. All right, we're gonna move into our first pose. So for props, I have 2 blankets. I have a little cushion. So if you're practicing at home, you don't have yoga bolsters. If you do have a bolster, you can use any bolster that you prefer. If you don't, just something like a little bit firm, like a throw cushion from your couch, or maybe even a couple of them. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna come into pregnant pose, right leg. Oh. It's early in the morning when I'm filming this, and that was the first time. I was just gonna say that it was the first time that I spread my legs this far apart today. Good one. That's the first time that I did though. And anytime I start to move my hips a lot, I always get a couple of really nice loud pops. Anywho, coming into this pose, this is not a restorative pose, it is a yin pose. So we do use props sometimes in our yin practice, but it's not with the intention of making the posture extra comfortable the way that we would in a restorative pose, where in our restorative pose, we're hoping to not feel a lot. And in our yin pose, we're hoping to feel a little bit more, but still be able to soften our musculature. So I don't want to feel like I'm tense and squeezing and forcing in my yin practice, but I'm allowed to feel uncomfortable, but I want to be able to soften, if that makes sense at all. So you could have props out in front of you. And for a lot of students that I teach, like this right here is already a lot. Just thinking about like maybe sitting up a little bit straighter instead of like rounding and tucking the tailbone under, thinking about rolling the pelvis forward a little bit. And sometimes just this is a lot. And so if this is a lot right here, we stay right here. If this isn't a lot, maybe we slide the cushion away from us a little bit more. Or maybe I come down, I can't remember where that camera angle is pointing right now. Maybe I come down like forearms on the cushion. And then you just keep playing. Maybe I come down chest to the cushion and hold my legs, if that feels nice. Maybe you come all the way down to the floor, chest to the floor with no prop. As long as you can relax your muscles, do what feels right for you. So we're gonna hold this pose, whichever variation of this pose you want to, for about 5 minutes. All right? And as we start to come into the pose, I'm just gonna work us through quickly a little body scan. So right from my toes, feeling my toes relax, ankles soften, legs soften. My hips, as I relax them, my feet might want to roll in, or feet might want to roll out, depending on your structure. Relaxing my back and my belly. Letting my chest feel soft, move with my breathing. All the muscles in my neck, face, and jaw relax. And we'll stay here for about 5 minutes. Coming out of the pose, we're gonna move nice and slow, bringing ourselves all the way up. Pause. Coming out of this and into our next pose is not going to be a big change right yet. So the first thing that I'm going to do here, I could move, if I liked having the pillow cushion, whatever, in front of me, I could have it off to the side. I could bring my my arm to rest on it. I could bring my arm to rest on the floor. I could take my fingers and tuck them under. The next pose we're going to only hold for about a minute or 2 minutes. Big breath in, arm going to come up overhead. Big breath out. I'm just going to reach over to the side. We'll hold for a minute. If it feels comfortable, maybe I clasp onto the big toe of the opposite foot. Maybe I take this hand over to my opposite leg. So again here, just play with which version of this, and I should have also said too, you could just be hand down, reaching up and over. Whatever version of this feels the most comfortable for you, so that you're getting a big stretch, but you can still soften your body a bit. Coming out of this pose, we're going to slowly come up. We're going to turn our torso all the way to face the leg that we just folded towards with the side of our body, and now we're going to fold towards that same leg with the front of our body. So I could start walking my hands forward. Same thing here. I could have a pillow on my leg. I could also, I didn't even say this in the last pose. I'll put a little side thing, a little note in. You can always take any of these stretches, you can always take a blanket in and tuck underneath your knees. If you're getting like a super intense pull in your hamstring and that's the only muscle that you can feel in your whole body because it's overwhelming, bend the knee, support it so that you can still soften, and then let that stretch be felt in other places too. Ideally, we're hoping to be able to stretch out like our low back a little bit in these, or feel that sensation in the low back a little bit. Some of these are, the last one would be also like a side body stretch and even like a shoulder stretch. So if that's all you feel is hamstrings, then the knees and support. And then as I walk forward, if I want maybe a little bit more support under me, but not as much as the cushion offers, I could come down here. I could have cushion for underneath my forehead. I could come down, hands on the floor if that feels good. Usually, one of the kind of thoughts that I was taught a long time ago was if I need to feel more grounded, I need to be exchanging the energy like in and out of my body with the earth. I put my hands on the floor. But if I am needing to sustain my own energy, then maybe I have my hands holding my own body. So whether that's like hands, like thinking of it as like almost like an energetic or like an electric circuit, like my hands are touching my foot. I'm like a little electric loop. If my hands are touching the floor, it's like outside energy, giving and receiving. So choose which version of this feels the best for you. We'll pause here for about 2 minutes. Coming out of this pose, we'll slowly walk up. Turn towards the other leg. And we're gonna come into this pose the same way we did before. So I'm gonna think about setting my arm up on the bottom first. So that could be inside my leg. It can be on my cushion. It could be on a blanket if I want something in between. I'm gonna think about kind of rolling open a bit here, where I'm thinking of maybe like taking my top shoulder and stacking it on top of my bottom shoulder, or there around, depending on what feels good today. And then again, this top arm, it could come straight up, it could start to come over. It feels all right. Maybe hold on to the opposite foot. I put on lotion last night and it's still slippery this morning on my feet. So we'll hold for about a minute in whichever version of the pose we land in. Also, sorry, really quickly, neck. Head can go straight forward. Head can go down towards the floor. Head can go up towards the ceiling. Just try them and see what feels the best in your neck. Come all the way back up out of this pose. Pause for just a moment, take a couple of breaths. We'll turn towards the leg here and then slowly fold again. This might be very similar to the way we came into the pose on the other side, or it can look totally different, one side of our body to the other. So remember, every time we switch in these asymmetrical poses to really enter into it like it's a brand new pose. We can slowly walk ourselves back up out of this pose here. Pause. I'm going to bring my legs together. So I'm going to bend. Sorry. Bend my knee. Help guide my leg back to center. And let my leg come back up straight again. I'm going to bend my other knee with the help of my hand. Back to center. Straighten out again. Bring my hands just in behind me. Pause. And take just a couple of breaths. I'm going to get ready to move into the next couple of poses here. So, I'm going to make my way to hands and knees. We're going to be in like a variation on lunge pose. We're going to come into lizard pose. So if you have knees that are sensitive, bothers your knees to have weight on them on your yoga mat, you could bring a blanket underneath your knee for a little bit of extra cushion. I'm going to show, actually I'll show on your back first. Like, so this lunge pose, I've had a few students, quite a few students actually, that have had knee replacement surgery. So me down on the ground, like even sometimes, even with the extra cushion, it's not always a comfortable feeling. So if that was uncomfortable for you, we could work on half happy baby instead. So this would be a very similar position in our body, but we're not putting any weight bearing on our legs. So if lunging, which is basically what we're going to be in this lizard pose, is a lunge, you can just flip your orientation in space and come onto your back. So this, I could have this back leg still bent and come up. I could just hold on in behind my leg. I want to try to think of getting my leg more out to the side so I can bend my knee in. And I'm only going to do that as much as my body will allow. If it felt all right, I could come down, hold on to the sole of my foot, and work here. I could also play with starting to straighten out that leg more, depending on what feels good, and then just settle in and be there. So I'm doing it the other way. Of course, I can have support under my knee. I'm gonna have my cushion handy, which I may or may not need, and I'm gonna start by maybe just bringing my hands to the floor. Actually, sorry, let's back that up a little bit. Right here might be real good. This might be all the stretch I need. If I'm mindful of how I position my pelvis, like if I tilt my pelvis forward, so if I rock my hip points towards my front thigh, then I don't really feel very much in my thigh here, my quadricep here. But if I, without coming any deeper into this lunge, if I simply tuck my tailbone down a little bit, pull my hip points away from my front leg, then I'm getting a much bigger stretch here. So I can get a good stretch in the front of my thigh. We're not necessarily focusing on the front of the thigh in this specific practice, only because this is an accompaniment to the flow practice that will be posted, and the postures that we're going to be practicing in there. So I'm more thinking about getting this front leg slightly outside my torso and getting my torso in. I want to like nuzzle just inside of that front leg. So that could be here. If it works, I could bring my hands to the inside of my foot and be here. Maybe I start to bring my front foot a little bit farther away from my back leg, my back knee. If it works for me to go a little bit lower to the ground, maybe I bring my forearms to like my cushion. Maybe I bring my forearms to the ground. And so whichever version of this feels sustainable, not necessarily comfortable, but sustainable for a couple of minutes, settle into that position. We're gonna hold this for 2 minutes. Coming out of this pose, I'm gonna slowly back myself out a little bit. I'm going to come and shift back with my hips. So again, this, I'll show a different version of this for if we were laying on our backs. So if I was laying on my back and I'm coming out of that lunge, so the same leg that I just had bent, so if I was here, right? I have a strap right here. You could use a towel, belt, the blanket that you have, anything at all that can go in between your two hands and hold onto the bottom of your foot. And then slowly press. This other leg can be bent, it can be straight. And then I'm gonna think of bringing this leg forward. Again, I'm looking for a good stretch back here. Coming back this way. If I'm leaving the lunge from here, I'm gonna think about sending my hips back, taking my front legs a little bit straighter. The goal here is not to get my hips all the way down to my heel. Oh my good Lord. If right here, if my hips are kind of over my knee and I'm not really feeling a lot here, maybe I'm going to take that a little bit more forward and start to come back. I'm still not feeling a lot. Maybe I'm going to take it a little bit more forward. Something with my heel. And so we're either with here, half split pose. or working more in towards split pose. So I cannot do the full splits. So this is about my range of motion right now. You can also support with like one of the pillows or a couple pillows or pillow and blankets. And we're only gonna hold this for about a minute. We're gonna slowly come out of this variation. I'm gonna bring my foot in a little bit closer if I was out in that, in the split pose. And then I'm gonna bring my foot towards the opposite side of my mat. So I'm gonna come into, we're gonna move ourselves into the sleeping swan pose here, swan pose. So I'm gonna show a variation first. So the first variation could be that my back leg is bent and out beside me here. So this is kind of one variation. And again, depending on how this feels, we're not looking for comfort, but we're looking to be able to relax into the pose a little bit. So if my knee doesn't come all the way to the ground and I'm like, I can feel my hip muscles on the outer side of that, right? Like working, squeezing to hold here. I might just tuck that under so that I can breathe. I have had quite a few students who having their ankle bone rest on the floor on their mat is uncomfortable, or even the inside of their knee. So you could always take a blanket here. This doesn't have to even be all the way out here. This knee could be way up closer. If it doesn't work to have your leg like this still, you could even take that leg all the way out front. We're still gonna focus on folding over this leg. So we're not trying to fold over this one, but that leg doesn't even have to stay behind you. We can always play until we find something that works. So, other option, this other way, is to take that back leg in behind you, to walk it away. I've learned lots of different ways to do this. I've learned to do it with toes tucked under. I've learned to do it with the top of my foot on the ground. When I'm doing a really active variation of pigeon, which I do more than I do a passive version of pigeon, I always tuck my toe under. I like that feeling more. When I'm doing this, I like the top of my foot on the mat more. So, depends what feels good for you. Just like in the last pose, we can see if my hips aren't gonna come all the way to the floor and I can't soften the muscles in my hips, again, this is where I can start to add in props. So maybe I take a blanket and roll into like a little log and tuck it under. You can also support just under one hip. If I switch around, so I can show you from this way. You can always take and tuck under just here. I personally just like the feeling of having my whole pelvis supported. So that's usually why I take the support all the way. So I'm also supporting my back thigh. So from here, we could be hands on the floor. We could maybe lower down to forearms on a cushion or a couple of cushions stacked. We could have forehead on a cushion. We could have no prop at all under the front of us. So We're gonna find the version of this pose that feels the best for us right now, this specific moment in time, and we're gonna stay here for about 3 minutes. All right, we're gonna get ready to come out of this pose. So what I'm gonna do to come out of it is I'm gonna tuck my back toes under, I'm gonna lift my back knee, shift forward, knee down. Do that a couple of times until I can come all the way back onto my bum. I'm just gonna pause in between sides. Let my legs stretch out. Take just a few breaths. Breathing in and out. Nice and slow. Nice and calm. I'm going to move over into the other couple of poses on the other side of our body. So, whatever leg you had back last time, the leg goes forward this time. So again, you can do this lying on your back. Lying on your back, bending the opposite knee in, holding behind your thigh, or you could reach up and hold onto your foot and pull it down, or we can step back foot forward. Again, you can bring blanket under your back knee. That feels nice to have that support. We can start to bring our hands towards the inside of our foot if that works. I did all the modifications in the last pose, so I'm not going to run through them again here. And then start to lower elbows towards a cushion or towards the floor. And then pause here for just a little bit of time. A few breaths. We're going to get ready to make our way back out of this pose. So we're going to move towards our half split pose. So that could be hips shifting back. Maybe we start to lift our toes away from the floor. We're going to square our hips off a little bit. We're not trying to pop our hips one way or the other. We're going to pull back the hip of the front leg. Again, if you're not getting any stretch here, instead of coming back farther, maybe we move more towards a split pose. So that, walking that front foot out a little bit, and then slowly coming down to wherever we're going to come to. And we're going to only hold here for about a minute. And again, at any point in time, I should have said this earlier too, but if at any point in time during these poses you feel like you've been in the pose for long enough and you want to come out of it, come out of it. You don't have to hold it for as long as I suggest. Coming out of the pose, we're going to pull that front foot back if we're in our half split. We're in our full split pose. We're going to come back to where we would have started from in our half split pose, and then we're going to come into our swan pose on this side. So I'm going to slowly bring my foot towards the opposite side of my mat. Again, I'm not going to go through all of the variations again, and we're going to find the version of swan that we want to do on this side. We'll settle in for a few rounds of breath here, a few minutes. Slowly bring ourselves back. Good, and tuck my back toe under, lift my knee, shift my hips forward. Do that a couple of times. All the way back. Sit. Legs extended. I'm sitting with my back against the wall. If you have a wall behind you, you can sit against the wall. If you don't, lean back on your hands. A couple of breaths. That, lovely people, is our yin practice for the sacral chakra. We could continue into another practice, or we could come into Shavasana. So if you're coming into Shavasana, you're continuing to another practice, feel free to stop here and move forward. If you're coming into Shavasana, be slow, making our way down to the ground. Really feel the whole length of our spine just start to rest towards the floor. It's almost like the more that I rest, the longer my spine starts to feel. Breathing in and out, nice and slow. If it doesn't feel comfortable for my low back or for the front of my hips here, to have my legs stretched all the way out, maybe I just take a pillow or something, one of the cushions, and just kind of tuck them underneath my knees so that I can relax my legs. You could take something small underneath your head here to support your neck. You could make a little roll, your blanket for under your neck. Arms find a comfortable position. And we'll stay in this pose for about just 5 minutes.